Hello everyone, welcome to my Doom Eternal review video. So, in this video I will discuss some pros and cons of Doom Eternal, just the base game, not the DLCs, as I see them. There are going to be spoilers, so if you're looking for a spoiler-free review, this is not it. So, without further ado, let's jump right to it. Let's start with the pros. So, the pros in Doom Eternal are like every other Doom game. So you have cool powers, you have cool weapons, you have cool visuals like the glory kills, which also serve an important purpose. For cool powers, we have, for example, the blood punch, which I think is very cool. Weapons, you have like the chain gun, especially the mod that makes it split into three and then just shreds everything, as you can see. And of course, I couldn't mention cool weapons without mentioning the BFG, which is basically either an emergency escape button or, I don't know, like a let's make it rain button. I guess it depends on your point of view. So you also have the chainsaw, of course, which is one of the coolest weapons there is. You know, for fighting demons, that is. Actually, all around, I'd say a chainsaw is very cool. Anyway, the chainsaw requires fuel, obviously. Fortunately, it always refuels to 1 charge. So that's the bare minimum. You'll always be refueling to at least 1 charge. Each demon requires a different number of charges, but you know, that's to be expected. Otherwise, you could just kill everything. Moving on. Doom is an old game, or the franchise, I should say, is an old game. So it's from the time when cheats were actually embedded in the games, and it retained that, which I find very cool. So you can actually unlock cheat codes by playing the game. So you could, for instance, unlock an infinite ammo cheat and then just play through all the levels with using a chain gun with unlimited ammo, which in my opinion is cool as hell. Regarding the lore, the lore is, oddly enough, I didn't expect this, but the lore is actually fairly deep. You know, there's some lore that goes, some aspects of it go deeper than others, but overall, you know, for a game like Doom, they put some work into the lore, and I can appreciate that. So, all in all, to summarize, Doom is an unapologetic power fantasy. You go in, you play as the Doom Slayer, Doom Guy, whatever. You kill a bunch of demons with a bunch of cool weapons and powers. You snap their necks or whatever with the glory kills. You got a chainsaw, and you know that it's a very cool game. That's the best way I can summarize it. It's a very cool action game. However, no game is perfect, and so we get to the cons of Doom Eternal. Now, one of my main complaints is that there is a lot of platforming. I'm not a fan of platformers, much less in first person. In the devs' defense, to their credit, they did make the jumps super easy. There's a lot of leeway. I remember I once grabbed onto a wall from like 2 meters away or something. It's, as you can see here. So yeah, there's a lot of leeway. On the other hand, I mean, I would still do away with a lot of the platforming. I don't think it adds anything to the game. It just feels like, you know, you're fighting a bunch of demons, cool, awesome, and then all of a sudden you have a platforming puzzle to solve. They're not particularly difficult as long as you pay attention. But you know, it's just not something I would personally do. There's also an issue with the ammo. I always felt, at least at the start, that I had very little ammo. Now, it could just be my aim. In Doom games, well, this is technically only the second one I've played, but still. I tend to just kind of know, the demon is more or less in that region, let's aim there, fire, and see what happens. I can also, and do also, aim more carefully, especially with, what's it called, like the assault rifle or something. I think it's an assault rifle. I also do that, but usually it's just more or less in the general region that the demons are in. To me, that's a bit more fun than, you know, taking the game way too seriously. Now, the power fantasy, which I mentioned before as a pro, can be a bit of a con at times. I mean, it can get a bit cringy. Like there's a part where a scientist, you can see here in the subtitles, a scientist is saying that her colleagues think that the Doomslayer might be some kind of god. And I mean, come on, what is that? That's just stupid. Or like this scene here, where they all just turn to Doomslayer and are like, oh my god, he's so amazing, I'm so fucking terrified. I mean, Jesus Christ. That's just cringy. Alright, so getting back to the ammo issue, there's something I forgot to mention. It's that some weapons share ammo types. I think there's like 2 weapons per ammo type. Now, this is not a bad thing in and of itself. A lot of games do this, but and you know, it does cut down on the amount of ammo that you have to gather. But I don't really enjoy it all that much, because as I mentioned, I always felt that I was running low on ammo. At certain points, all I had left was the missile launcher, which killed me quite a lot. So, another con, this one stings a bit. In the first few levels, you are teased, if you will, with giant fucking robots that kill demons. And you're also teased with giant fucking demons that destroy the robots. Or that can destroy the robots, at least. And so I, in my perhaps ignorance, yeah, technically it is ignorance, I mean, I didn't know what the game was going to be like, looked at those, put 2 and 2 together, and figured, hey, you know what, I'm probably going to pilot one of these things, I can hardly wait. So that is on me, I hyped myself up, but I feel like the lack of giant robots is a con to the game. Like, they show us the cool robots, and then, I mean, we can fire 1 or 2 of their weapons. I think it's like 3 or something. But you know that you don't pilot them, you don't really do anything with them. Besides that, they're just there as platforming puzzles. And you know, I just feel like that's sad. Another thing that hurts, and this is something that really pissed me off and disappointed me. So as you saw in the promotional stills or whatever, I'm not sure what they're actually called in English. You have a sword, right? And I mean, fighting demons with a sword is just fucking amazing. But then they had to ruin it, because the sword requires ammo. Now, I understand that the sword is overpowered, it kills everything in one hit, but in my opinion, that is not a problem for the developers, that is a problem for the player. Like, if the sword had infinite ammo, and one-shot every single demon, would I use it all the time? No. I would use it some of the time as like an emergency weapon, but all of the time, no. And it's for a very simple reason. It would turn Doom into a point-and-click game, essentially. And although those can be fun, it's not what the game is for. Now, again, I see the dev's perspective. It's said that when given the chance, players will optimize the fun out of the game. But that could be easily addressed by simply not making the sword insta-kill everything besides bosses. So if the sword didn't insta-kill everything, then it wouldn't be OP anymore, and it wouldn't require ammo. Which, again, I'll just say that again, a sword that requires ammo. Yes, it's an energy sword, but it's a sword. I mean, dude has a blade on his forearm thingy. What's it called? Like it's probably something like Doom Blade or something. And I don't remember the name, but it's a it is actually Doom Blade. I just checked it on the wiki. Yeah, it is Doom Blade. So I could have used that. Like, I wouldn't mind, but no, you can't. Anyway, moving on. Samuel Hayden, when you meet up with him, repeats a lot of the mission statements. It gets annoying. You have the loading screen, which tells you what you're doing, and then you load in, and Samuel just repeats everything. I mean, it's very annoying. It's repetitive. Now, there is one other thing I will mention regarding the game, which is enemies that require stunning before you can kill them. This is specific to a type of enemy called the Marauder. Now, I'm not a fan of enemies that are just, essentially invincible. Not essentially, actually, he is virtually invincible. Unless there's like a slight opening and then you can stun him and then you can fight back. I mean, that's not fun for me. You are waiting until the guy gives you a chance to fight back. That's not fun. In my opinion, at least. Obviously, this is one of those your mileage may vary things. So, the last thing I'm going to mention as a con, which is it's not about the gameplay itself. It's about the game as a whole, and it is that you quote unquote require an account to play. You can play by disconnecting your internet, and I did do that in the first few episodes. But either disconnecting your internet or just blocking Doom Eternal from going through your firewall. I did do that in the beginning, but it honestly was so annoying because you get spammed with a lot of prompts, which I'm guessing is the point. So I just created a new email address and registered with it. They get their data on an email address that has never been used, and I don't get annoyed by the pop-ups. So again, this is not something about the gameplay, so I won't take it into account on my final score, but it is something that I feel is very annoying in games nowadays. Everybody wants you to sign up to their bullshit newsletter or whatever. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody ever will give a shit. But yeah. So, to summarize, pros. Doom Eternal is a power fantasy in its purest form. You have cool weapons, cool powers, you have cheat codes that you can unlock, you have a fairly deep lore. Now, the cons, there's a lot of platforming, you usually run low on ammo. Well, I did, at least. The power fantasy can get a bit cringy. You have a cool sword that you can barely use because it requires ammo that is scarce as hell. and you require and there are enemies that are invulnerable until a very specific window of opportunity opens, and then you can stun them to damage them, not even to kill them, just to damage them. Usually requires a few of these cycles before you can actually kill them. So on the whole, I would give Doom Eternal a 7.5 out of 10. So I know that seems a bit low for, or may seem a bit low for some of the bigger Doom fans. Now, my reason is simple. A sword that requires ammo is just shit. Downgrade it if you must, but give me a sword, not a thing that looks like a sword, but requires ammo like a pistol. Point number 2 is the platforming. These are just long breaks in the action, and they don't do anything for the game. Even if they are very lax, you know, there's really no point to these parts, most of them. And the third is the the enemies that require a stun. Well, in the base game I think it's just the Marauder, but they are present enough that they can be very annoying. So with those 3 points, I would say that's 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. Now let's stay with 7.5 out of 10 is acceptable. So that was my Doom Eternal review. After this review, at some point, I'm not saying like the day after or anything, I'm going to release my Doom Eternal DLC review for Ancient Gods Part 1 and 2. And I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you again next time.